the glass shattered on marble, champagne spreading like secrets across the floor of Atlanta's most exclusive penthouse. Maya stood frozen, watching Ethan's face transform from shock to anger as guests turned to stare. 2 weeks, she announced, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent engagement party. 2 weeks ago, you asked for one night with her, and I said yes. If your fiancé begged for one last night with their ex, would you agree or walk away? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. Cameras flashed. The elite of Atlanta's business world collectively held their breath. But Maya wasn't finished. She stepped closer to Ethan, close enough that only he could hear her final words. What you didn't ask was why. 3 weeks earlier, Maya adjusted her earrings in the mirror, the weight of the diamonds unfamiliar against her skin. These weren't the cubic zirconia she'd worn through law school at Howard. These were Ethan's diamonds, real, flawless, and worth more than her first-year salary at the firm. You look perfect, Ethan said, appearing behind her in the reflection. His hands found her waist, expensive cologne surrounding her as he pressed his lips to her neck. Ready to dazzle my parents? She wasn't. Maya Diallo, daughter of Detroit factory workers, top of her class and feared in courtrooms across 3 states, still felt her stomach knot when facing the Pierce family. Old money, Connecticut aristocracy, people who used summer as a verb. They'll love you, Ethan continued, misreading her silence as he always did. Just like I do. The car ride to the restaurant stretched long and tense. Maya rehearsed small talk in her head, while Ethan took business calls, his attention elsewhere as always. She watched Atlanta's skyline glitter through tinted windows, remembering her mother's voice on the phone last week. Be sure before you say yes, baby. Some prices are too high, even for love. Dinner unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance. Ethan's mother, Elizabeth, asked the right questions but never waited for complete answers. His father, Richard, discussed the upcoming merger as if Maya weren't an attorney but a decorative accessory to their son's ambition. Of course, Maya understands the importance of family legacy, Elizabeth said, cutting into her steak with surgical precision. Don't you, dear? Maya smiled, the expression practiced in countless depositions. I understand the importance of building something lasting. Elizabeth's eyebrow arched slightly. Building? I suppose that's one perspective. The Pierces have been established for generations. The unspoken message hung clear. You're not building anything. You're being admitted. Conditionally. Dessert arrived with more veiled comments about the wedding date, Maya's career choices, and whether she planned to keep her maiden name. She answered each with measured grace while watching Ethan remain silent, swirling his bourbon instead of defending her. Later that night, Maya kicked off her heels in their hotel suite, exhaustion settling into her bones. Your mother asked if I'd be taking maternity leave before or after making partner. Ethan laughed, loosening his tie. She's old-fashioned. Don't take it personally. Old-fashioned isn't asking when I'll quit my job to have your babies. She's testing you. They all are. He moved behind her, unzipping her dress with practiced ease. You passed. Trust me. His fingers traced her spine, and despite her frustration, Maya felt her body respond. This was their pattern. Tension dissolved through touch, conversations avoided through connection. She turned to face him, allowing his mouth to find hers, knowing this language was easier for them both. His hands moved with confident possession, mapping territories he considered already his. Maya closed her eyes, feeling herself responding despite the echoes of dinner conversation still ringing in her ears. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Ethan groaned against her neck. Ignore it, he murmured, fingers sliding lower. But Maya had glimpsed the name on the screen. Her assistant never called this late unless something was wrong. She pulled away gently. 1 minute, she promised, reaching for the phone. The text message wasn't from her assistant. It was from a number she didn't recognize, but the content froze her blood. He's meeting Alyssa tomorrow. Still think he's loyal? Check his deleted texts. Attached was a photo. Ethan and a woman with auburn hair, heads close together at what looked like a hotel bar. The timestamp showed yesterday, when he claimed to be at a business dinner in Austin. "Who is it?" Ethan asked, coming up behind her. Maya locked the screen in one smooth motion. "Work emergency." She turned to him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Rain check." Later, while Ethan slept, Maya sat in the bathroom with the shower running, scrolling through his phone. The deleted texts, recovered with an app designed for divorce attorneys, told her everything. Alyssa Thompson, his ex from Los Angeles. 6 months of messages. Plans to meet. Regrets. Desires. Confusion. By morning, Maya had made her decision. She slid back into bed beside him, studying the face of the man she'd agreed to marry. Handsome. Wealthy. Connected. A man who'd opened doors she'd fought to reach her entire life. She would say yes to his request when it came, not out of love or understanding, but because some lessons required a stage and an audience to truly sink in. Have you ever smiled through betrayal because exposing the truth seemed worse than swallowing the pain? What mask do you wear in your relationships? The request came on a Tuesday night, casual as a dinner order. "There's something I need to ask you," Ethan said, swirling his whiskey. They sat on the balcony of his Atlanta penthouse, city lights glittering below like the diamonds he'd placed on her finger 2 months ago. Maya recognized the tone, practiced casualness covering calculation. She'd used it herself in negotiations. "Ask." Her voice remained steady even as her pulse quickened. "Before we get married." He paused, studying his glass. "There's something I need closure on." She waited, already knowing the name before it left his lips. "Alyssa and I have history. Complicated history." Maya's fingers tightened around her wine stem. She'd already read their complicated history in his deleted texts. 7 years together before Maya. A breakup that left him wounded enough to mention occasionally, drunk enough to mention frequently. "I thought she was out of your system." The understatement of the year, given the messages she discovered. "That's just it, she's not." Ethan leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I've been talking to her recently." Recently? Maya's eyebrow raised. "Just conversations, trying to understand why things ended the way they did." His hand covered hers, warm and insistent. "I need one night with her, Maya, to say goodbye properly, to close that chapter forever." The world didn't stop. No glass shattered. The city continued sparkling below as if nothing had happened. Maya withdrew her hand slowly. "You want permission to sleep with your ex-girlfriend before our wedding. It's not about sex," he insisted, though they both knew better. "It's about closure, about starting our marriage with no ghosts between us." Maya took a long sip of wine, buying time. She'd anticipated this conversation for days, had prepared her reaction carefully. Now came the performance. "And if I say no," she asked, keeping her voice deliberately calm, "then I won't do it." Ethan reached for her hand again. "But I'll always wonder, and that's not fair to either of us." Maya stood, walking to the balcony edge. Below, Atlanta traffic moved in steady streams of light. She remembered meeting Alyssa briefly at a charity function last year. Tall, poised, old money written in every gesture. The woman had looked at Maya with a mixture of curiosity and dismissal that still burned. "When?" she asked finally. Ethan blinked, surprise flickering across his features. He'd expected argument, tears, perhaps the dramatic removal of her engagement ring. "Next weekend," he said carefully. "There's an investment conference in Dallas. She'll be there too." Of course. The perfect cover story. "One night." Maya turned to face him fully. "One night," he confirmed, standing to join her. "And then it's done forever." His arms encircled her waist, relief evident in his touch. He'd gotten what he wanted, as usual. "Thank you for understanding," he murmured against her hair. "This is why I love you. You're not like other women." No, she wasn't. Other women might have screamed or thrown things. Other women might have ended the engagement on the spot. But Maya had spent her life calculating moves 3 steps ahead. She turned in his arms, pressing her body against his. Her mouth found his with deliberate passion, fingers tangling in his hair. She felt his surprise melt into desire, his hands growing more insistent against her back. "Let's go inside," she whispered against his lips. Later, while Ethan slept beside her, Maya slipped from bed and returned to the balcony. The night air cooled her skin as she opened her laptop, fingers flying across the keys. First, a message to her college roommate, now a private investigator in Dallas. Next, a call to her friend at the hotel where the investment conference will be held. Finally, an email to her attorney requesting specific changes to their prenuptial agreement. The memory of her first encounter with Alyssa surfaced unbidden. The charity gala where Ethan had first introduced them. Alyssa's manicured hand lingering on Ethan's arm. "So you're the new project," she'd said, champagne making her bold. He always did have a thing for diversity hires. Maya closed her laptop. In the bedroom, Ethan slept peacefully, unaware that his request had just activated a sequence he couldn't control. She took a deep breath of night air, feeling something calcify within her chest. The woman who walked back into that bedroom wouldn't be the same one who'd left it. Love and pride could only occupy the same space for so long before one devoured the other. When she slid back under the sheets, Ethan reached for her unconsciously. She allowed it, studying his face in the darkness. One final betrayal in exchange for everything he values, she whispered to herself, the contract already written in her mind. He just didn't know he'd signed it yet. When someone asks for your dignity packaged as honesty, do you give it away or weaponize their request? What's the most painful truth you've turned into power? He asked you for what? Zora's voice cut through the upscale Detroit cafe where they'd met for lunch. Several heads turned toward their corner table. Maya sipped her water calmly. "Keep your voice down." Her oldest friend since Howard University leaned forward, manicured fingers wrapped tightly around her coffee mug. "Tell me you threw that ring in his face." "Not exactly." "Maya Diallo, tell me you're not considering this." Maya glanced around the cafe, her territory, not Ethan's. She'd flown to Detroit specifically for this conversation, needing solid ground and clear thinking. "I said yes." Zora's eyes widened. "Have you lost your mind? This man wants a hall pass to sleep with his ex before your wedding, and you're giving him permission?" "I'm giving him rope." Understanding dawned slowly on Zora's face. As a financial analyst for one of Detroit's largest investment firms, she recognized strategy when she saw it. "What's your play?" she asked, voice lower now. Maya opened her laptop, turning it towards Zora. "This is our prenuptial agreement." Zora scanned the document, legal expertise from her MBA making the implications clear. These clauses about asset division in case of infidelity, they're heavily in your favor. Ethan only read the financial disclosures. He skimmed the rest and signed where his lawyer pointed. "And this helps you how?" "He hasn't technically cheated if you've given permission." Maya's smile was thin. Page 12, paragraph 4. Zora scrolled down, then let out a low whistle. "Any intimate contact with former partners after the engagement date constitutes breach of fiduciary trust." She looked up. "You added this after the original signing." "Addendum 3 weeks ago." His lawyer called it standard updating of terms. Ethan signed without reading. "That's brilliant and possibly evil." Zora took a long sip of coffee. "What's the endgame here?" Maya closed the laptop. "Control of his newest tech venture. The one he thinks is worth billions." "Is it? With the right leadership?" "Yes." Maya's gaze turned distant. "My leadership." Zora studied her friend's face. "This isn't just about business, though, is it?" Maya's composed expression flickered. "You remember the Lawrence and Pierce holiday party last year? When Ethan was late? The one where you ended up alone at the bar?" "Not alone. Alyssa was there." Maya's voice remained steady, even as her fingers tightened around her water glass. "She made sure I understood exactly what Ethan saw in me. Career advancement, diversity points for his company, a phase before he returned to his kind. And Ethan arrived an hour late, laughed it off when I told him, said I was being too sensitive." Understanding settled between them. This wasn't just about one request or one night. It was about months, perhaps years, of small humiliations accumulating like interest. "If you do this," Zora said carefully, "there's no going back. Your relationship ends." It ended the moment he asked. Maya's voice was soft but certain. "I'm just negotiating the terms of dissolution." Zora reached across the table, covering Maya's hand with her own. Are you sure there isn't another way? Have you tried actually talking to him? For 3 years, the admission carried the weight of exhausted effort. He doesn't hear me. He never has. That night in her hotel room, Maya sat cross-legged on the bed, staring at her phone. 3 missed calls from Ethan. A text asking when she'd be back from her girls' weekend. He hadn't even remembered she was visiting her mother, the story she'd actually told him. Her finger hovered over the call button. Part of her, a smaller part each day, wanted to give him one last chance. To call and say, choose me, choose us, cancel your weekend with her. Instead, she opened her email and confirmed the hotel reservation in Dallas. Requested a specific room 2 doors down from where Ethan would be staying with Alyssa. Authorized the additional payment for surveillance setup. Her phone buzzed with a new message from Ethan. Missing you. Can't wait for you to come home. Home. His penthouse where her books were relegated to the guest room because they cluttered the living space. Where her Detroit art collection remained in storage because it didn't match his aesthetic. Where she carefully modulated her voice, her opinions, her very presence to fit the space he'd allocated for her. She typed back, miss you too. See you tomorrow. When she returned to Atlanta the next day, Ethan greeted her with flowers and reservation at her favorite restaurant. His attentiveness felt like down payment on his coming betrayal. In bed that night, his hands moved across her body with familiar possession. Maya closed her eyes, allowing her body to respond while her mind remained distant, cataloging each touch as evidence. His mouth traveled down her neck, her collarbone lower still. She gasped appropriately, played her part perfectly. Afterward, with Ethan sleeping beside her, Maya stared at the ceiling. She'd made her decision. There would be no last-minute reprieve, no dramatic confrontation, just careful execution of a plan already in motion. Take your night with her, she whispered against his sleeping form. Just remember who holds your future when the sun rises. Would you sacrifice temporary dignity for permanent power? Would you kneel now to stand forever? Choose your weapon, patience or pride. Maya moved through the week like a chess player, seeing 20 moves ahead. Each action precise, each conversation calculated. Ethan noticed nothing unusual, attributing her occasional distraction to work stress. The Thompson merger again, he asked Wednesday night, finding her on her laptop at midnight. Always something. She closed a screen that showed not legal briefs, but hotel floor plans. Coming to bed soon. He kissed the top of her head. Don't work too hard. You need to be rested for Dallas. Dallas, the investment conference where he'd share a bed with another woman, with Maya's supposed blessing. I'm not attending, remember? She reminded him. Partner retreat in Chicago this weekend. Right. His relief was poorly concealed. Forgot about that. No, you didn't, she thought, watching him return to the bedroom. You've been counting on my absence for weeks. Thursday morning, Maya called in a favor from Kevin Chun, a tech security specialist who owed her for keeping his startup from being gutted in a predatory acquisition. The equipment will be in place Friday morning, Kevin confirmed. Audio only in the main room. Video limited to the entry area for legal reasons. Everything routed to your secure server. And the phone cloning, done last night while you were at dinner. Every message, every call, it'll all mirror to your device in real time. Maya transferred the final payment. I need hourly check-ins once they arrive. You sure about this? Kevin's voice held concern. Whatever you're planning is necessary, she finished. And legal. Next came clothing. Maya visited a boutique in Buckhead, selecting an outfit that projected exactly the image she needed for the conference's final night. Successful, confident, untouchable. The price made her Detroit upbringing flinch, but this was an investment in her future. The red catches the light beautifully, the sales associate commented. Special occasion? Maya studied her reflection. A business conclusion. Friday morning arrived with Ethan's carefully casual departure. He kissed her goodbye, suitcase already in the car. I'll miss you, he said, hands lingering at her waist. Call me when you land in Chicago. Of course. She smiled, the perfect fiancée. Good luck with your presentation. The moment his car pulled away, Maya's transformation began. Her Chicago flight boarding pass, displayed prominently on the kitchen counter, went into the shredder. Her actual ticket to Dallas was already in her wallet. She packed methodically. The new outfit, recording devices disguised as jewelry, printed copies of key prenuptial clauses, and a USB drive containing backup evidence. Everything a woman might need to dismantle a betrayal in progress. Her phone buzzed with a message from Zora. Last chance to reconsider. You cross this line, everything changes. Maya stared at the text, feeling a momentary wave of doubt. Was this excessive? Was there another way? Then Ethan's phone activity popped up on her mirroring app. Just checked in. Room 1542. Can't wait to see you. The recipient, Alyssa Thompson. Maya's resolve hardened. She texted Zora back. Some lines were crossed long before today. At the airport, Maya moved efficiently through security, face partially obscured by large sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat. No one from Ethan's circle could know she was following him to Dallas. On the plane, she reviewed her timeline once more. Ethan and Alyssa would reconnect tonight. Tomorrow, they'd attend conference sessions separately to maintain appearances. Tomorrow night would be their official rendezvous, the one Ethan had requested permission for. Sunday night was the closing gala, and that's when Maya would appear, perfectly timed to maximize both witnesses and impact. Her phone vibrated with the first update from Kevin. Subject arrived DFW 11:42 a.m., proceeding to hotel. Then another. Second subject arrived hotel 1:15 p.m., proceeded directly to target room. Maya closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel the pain, sharp and clean, one last time. Then she packed it away. Emotion had no place in execution. By the time her own flight landed in Dallas, Maya had transitioned fully into her role. The woman who checked into the small boutique hotel 2 blocks from Ethan's wasn't a betrayed fiancée. She was a prosecutor with irrefutable evidence in a watertight case. In her room, she arranged her surveillance equipment, connecting to the feeds from Ethan's suite. Then she dressed carefully for a dinner meeting with the one person who could ensure maximum damage. Caroline Wesley, editor of the financial world's most influential digital publication. I have a story you might find interesting, Maya would tell her over wine, about power, perception, and what happens when men underestimate the wrong woman. She scheduled his betrayal like a business meeting down to the minute and reserved the perfect audience for his downfall. Have you ever turned pain into a performance so convincing even you believe the script? What masks have you worn to protect your true intentions? The first night of surveillance felt like an out-of-body experience. Maya sat in her hotel room, AirPods delivering real-time audio from Ethan's suite. The technical limitations, video only in the entryway, were both frustration and blessing. You look amazing. Ethan's voice came through clearly. Dallas agrees with you. A woman's laugh, light, practiced. Dallas is dreadful. You're what agrees with me. Maya's stomach tightened. Alyssa's voice matched her memory. Confident, slightly raspy, dripping with inherited privilege. Should we order room service? Ethan asked. Or go downstairs? Let's stay in. Alyssa's voice lowered suggestively. We have so much to discuss. Maya removed one AirPod, needing distance. On her laptop screen, text messages between them continued appearing in real time, courtesy of the cloned phone. Alyssa, I've missed this. Missed you. Ethan, it's complicated. You know that. Alyssa, does she know you're with me? There was a long pause before Ethan's reply appeared. Ethan, she understands I needed closure. Maya laughed darkly at the screen. Closure. Such a convenient word for betrayal. Alyssa, closure usually doesn't involve room service and champagne. Ethan, can we not talk about her tonight? The audio feed captured glasses clinking, ice in a bucket. Maya muted it temporarily, unable to bear the intimate sounds of their evening unfolding. Instead, she focused on her own preparations. She opened her email, confirming her meeting with Caroline Wesley tomorrow. Then she reviewed the document her attorney had prepared, an amendment to the prenuptial agreement that would activate once evidence of Ethan's infidelity was presented. Her phone rang unexpectedly. Ethan's mother. Maya considered ignoring it, then thought better. Information was leverage. "Elizabeth," she answered smoothly. "What a surprise." "Maya, dear." The older woman's voice carried its usual undercurrent of judgment. "I was just calling to check on the flower arrangements. The florist needs final approval for the centerpieces. The wedding. Of course." Elizabeth was still planning a ceremony that would never happen. "I trust your judgment completely," Maya replied, the irony of her words not lost on her. "Whatever you think is appropriate." "Well, that's refreshing." Elizabeth's tone warmed slightly. "Ethan mentioned you were in Chicago this weekend." "A test." Maya recognized it immediately. "Partner retreat," she confirmed. "Very boring legal discussions." "How dedicated you are." The words could have been complimentary, but weren't. "I've always admired your work ethic." Translation: "I've always found your ambition distasteful." "Thank you, Elizabeth. That means a lot coming from you." The conversation continued with surface pleasantries, but Maya detected an unusual tension in her future mother-in-law's voice. Did Elizabeth know where her son really was? Or with whom? After ending the call, Maya unmuted the audio feed. Silence. They'd either left the room or moved to areas beyond the microphone's reach. She checked the entry camera footage. No movement for the past hour. Her imagination filled the gaps with painful precision. To distract herself, Maya opened the file containing photos of Ethan and Alyssa from previous events, evidence gathered over weeks. Their body language told a story of familiarity, of history. In every image, they stood slightly too close, laughed slightly too intimately. Had she been blind not to see it sooner? Or had she simply chosen not to look? Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. Subject: ordered room service for 2 at 8:45 p.m. Champagne and dinner. She didn't need the update anymore. She could hear it all. But Kevin was being thorough, documenting each moment for the record. At 11:30 p.m., Maya's vigilance was rewarded. The entry camera activated, showing Ethan walking Alyssa to the door. Their goodbye was lingering, hands intertwined, foreheads touching briefly before a kiss that confirmed everything. "Tomorrow night," Alyssa said, voice clear through the audio. "No interruptions." "I'll make sure my schedule is clear," Ethan promised. After Alyssa left, Maya watched Ethan return to the room, humming to himself. He checked his phone, presumably for messages from Maya, then typed something quickly. Seconds later, Maya's phone lit up, conference running long. "Missing you. How's Chicago?" She stared at the message, a strange calm settling over her. There should be pain, she thought. Rage. Heartbreak. Instead, she felt only certainty. The same clarity she experienced in courtrooms when opposing counsel made a fatal error. "Chicago's cold," she replied. "Missing you too. Get some rest." Maya closed her laptop and stood, stretching muscles tight from hours of tension. In the bathroom mirror, she studied her reflection. The woman looking back at her wasn't shattered or diminished. If anything, she looked more focused, more present than she had in months. She touched the diamond earrings Ethan had given her, the ones she'd wear to the gala for their final act together. "I need more time," he had texted Alyssa at 2 a.m. She replied, "Take all you need," while forwarding his location to her attorney. If someone handed you the knife to cut them, would you be gentle or precise? What hurts more, betrayal or the realization you expected it all along? The knock came at 7:42 a.m. Sunday morning. Maya checked the peephole before opening the door, face composed despite having tracked Ethan's movements all night. "Surprise," he said, standing in the hallway of her boutique hotel with coffee and a bakery bag. "Thought I'd rescue you from another boring legal breakfast." For a heartbeat, Maya froze. How had he found her? Then understanding clicked. Her credit card alerts. Of course he monitored her spending. "Ethan," she managed, stepping back to let him in. "This is unexpected." He looked good, freshly showered, designer casual, no visible signs of guilt or a night spent with another woman. He kissed her cheek, the scent of his cologne mixing with coffee. "Couldn't stand another day apart," he explained, setting breakfast on the small table by the window. "My afternoon session got canceled, so I thought Why not surprise my favorite attorney? Maya's mind raced, calculating risks. Her surveillance equipment was packed away, but her notes were open on her tablet. "Let me freshen up," she said, casually moving to close the tablet as she passed. "Make yourself comfortable." In the bathroom, she texted Kevin, "Subject at my location. Cease monitoring temporarily." When she emerged, Ethan had made himself at home, jacket draped over a chair, coffee unpacked. He looked up with a smile that once made her heart race. "You look beautiful," he said, "even in the morning." Flatterer. She joined him at the table, accepting the coffee he offered. "How's the conference?" "Productive." His eyes held hers. "Made some valuable connections." "I bet you did," she thought, taking a careful sip. "I'm glad. I missed you," he continued, reaching for her hand. "Being here without you felt wrong." The performance was flawless, devoted fiancé taking time from his busy schedule to see the woman he loved. If she hadn't heard him with Alyssa hours ago, she might have believed it. "Tell me about your retreat," he prompted. Maya launched into prepared details about fictional legal panels and networking events, watching him nod with practiced interest. His phone buzzed twice during her story. Each time, he glanced at it but didn't respond. Alyssa, most likely, wondering where he'd disappeared to. "So," he said when she finished, "since we're both free today, why don't we spend it together? There's a great museum nearby." This wasn't part of her plan. Maya needed the day to prepare for tonight's gala, the culmination of her strategy. "Actually," she improvised, "I have a lunch meeting I couldn't reschedule. Editor from Legal Quarterly about an article I'm writing." Ambitious as ever. His smile held genuine pride, the thing that had first attracted her to him. "Dinner, then?" "Perfect." After he left, promising to meet her at 7, Maya immediately contacted Caroline Wesley to confirm their actual meeting at noon. Then she messaged her attorney. "We need to accelerate," she wrote. "He's getting nervous. I can feel it." The lunch with Caroline went exactly as planned. The editor was sharp, immediately grasping the potential of what Maya offered. Exclusive access to a story about power, betrayal, and accountability that would dominate financial news for weeks. "To be clear," Caroline said over dessert, "you're giving me permission to publish what happens tonight, whatever it may be." "Complete access," Maya confirmed. "I just need your word that you'll present the full context, not just the spectacle. The truth is always more compelling than sensationalism." Caroline's smile was predatory. "And this truth has everything. Money, sex, power. It's irresistible." By late afternoon, Maya's preparations were complete. The amended prenuptial documents were in her clutch. The evidence was backed up in 3 separate locations. Her outfit, a deep crimson dress that commanded attention without seeking it, hung ready in the closet. She took a long shower, letting hot water wash away tension. Tonight would change everything. There would be no going back, no possibility of reconciliation. She searched herself for regret and found only resolve. Dinner with Ethan was a masterclass in misdirection. He believed they were celebrating her fictional article acceptance. She knew they were having their last meal as a couple. "To my brilliant fiancé," he toasted, champagne glinting in the restaurant's soft lighting. "The future Mrs. Pierce." Maya clinked her glass against his. "To the future." His hand found hers across the table, thumb brushing her engagement ring. "I was thinking we should set a date. For real. My mother's pushing for June, but it's your day." The sudden urgency surprised her. Was this guilt or something else? "Let's talk about it after the conference," she suggested. "When things are less hectic." His phone buzzed again. This time he checked it openly, frowning slightly. "Work?" she asked innocently. "Investment group," he answered smoothly. "Nothing that can't wait until tomorrow." After dinner, in the elevator to her room, Ethan pulled her close. His kiss was deeper than usual, more insistent. His hands moved with urgency beneath her jacket. "I've been thinking about you all weekend," he murmured against her neck. Maya allowed herself to respond, knowing it was the last time. Her body recognized his touch, arching toward familiar patterns even as her mind remained detached, observing. In her room, he undressed her with practiced efficiency. She matched his movements, cataloging each sensation as evidence rather than pleasure. When he entered her, she closed her eyes, performing pleasure with perfect precision. "I love you," he said afterward, his weight heavy across her body. Maya stroked his hair, the gesture tender despite everything. "I know." While he slept, she slipped from bed and opened her laptop. New messages from Kevin confirmed what she suspected. Ethan had told Alyssa he needed to handle an unexpected investor meeting. He'd promised to return to her later tonight. Maya smiled at the screen. He wouldn't be returning to anyone. By this time tomorrow, Ethan Pierce would understand exactly who he'd underestimated. She held him like treasure while he slept, memorizing the contours of the man she once loved and the weakness she would soon exploit. When was the last time someone mistook your strategic patience for weakness? How long did you let them believe the comfortable lie? Morning arrived with Ethan already gone from her bed, a note on the pillow explaining he had an early breakfast meeting. Maya knew better. His location tracker showed he'd returned to his original hotel room. To Alyssa, perfect. She needed the day to herself. Maya dressed in her conference attire, a navy suit that conveyed authority without aggression, and headed to the convention center. Not for the investment panels, but to confirm the gala arrangements. Everything needed to be flawless. The event coordinator greeted her in the main ballroom, where workers arranged tables and tested lighting. "Ms. Diallo, we've made the adjustments you requested," the woman explained, leading her to the stage. "The microphone will be live as soon as Mr. Harrington introduces the closing speakers." Maya surveyed the space, mentally mapping her movements for tonight. "And the presentation system? Ready for your files. We've tested the connection. Perfect." Maya handed over a USB drive. "These are the final slides. Please have them loaded and ready by 7. Next came her meeting with security. Maya had leveraged her legal connections to ensure specific personnel would be present tonight. People who understood the importance of letting events unfold without interference. "Once it begins, give me 3 minutes," she instructed the head of security. "No interruptions until I've finished speaking." The man nodded, professional and discreet. "Understood, Mom." By noon, Maya had confirmed every detail and returned to her hotel to prepare. Her phone buzzed with a message from Zora. "Flight landed. I'm at the hotel. Still sure about this?" Maya smiled. Having her closest friend as witness felt right. Never been more certain. "See you tonight." She ordered room service and opened her laptop for one final review of the evidence. The photos were damning enough. Ethan and Alyssa entering his room, embracing in the hallway. But the messages were devastating. Not just their plans for the weekend, but the context. Months of emotional infidelity, discussions of their connection that Maya couldn't understand, even jokes at her expense. A new notification appeared. Ethan had just sent a message to Alyssa. "Dinner with investors running long. Save my place beside you at the gala." Maya checked her own messages. Nothing from Ethan. Of course. At 5:30, she began transforming herself. The crimson dress fit perfectly, emphasizing strength rather than sexuality. Her makeup was flawless, her hair swept into an elegant updo that showcased the diamond earrings Ethan had given her. The final irony. She laid out her evidence on the bed. Printed messages, legal documents, USB drives containing everything. Each item went into her clutch, organized for maximum impact. At 6:15, a knock announced Zora's arrival. Her friend entered and immediately embraced her. "You look magnificent," Zora said, stepping back to examine Maya properly. "Like a queen about to pass sentence." "That's exactly what I'm doing." Zora's expression grew serious. "There's still time to walk away. Dump him privately. Take what the prenup gives you and start fresh." Maya shook her head. "This isn't just about me anymore. It's about every woman he's manipulated, every person he's used as a stepping stone. It's going to be brutal," Zora warned. "For everyone. Some lessons require public education." Maya checked her reflection one last time. "Are you ready?" They arrived at the gala separately. Zora entering first to secure her position near the stage, Maya timing her entrance for maximum effect. She waited in the car, breathing deeply, reviewing her mental script. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan, running late. "Meet you inside?" She didn't respond. Let him wonder. At exactly 7:45, Maya entered the ballroom. The investment conference's closing gala was in full swing. Cocktails flowing, business cards exchanging, deals being finalized in corner conversations. She spotted Ethan immediately, standing near the bar with Alyssa beside him. His hand rested casually at the small of her back, a gesture Maya recognized as his way of marking territory. She moved through the crowd without approaching him, stopping to greet key industry figures she'd previously identified. Each conversation positioned her strategically closer to the stage while remaining out of Ethan's direct sightline. Caroline Wesley appeared at her elbow, champagne in hand. "Everything's set." Maya nodded. 20 minutes. When Harrington announces the closing remarks. "My photographer is in position," Caroline confirmed. "Whatever happens, we'll capture it." Maya accepted a champagne flute from a passing server, but didn't drink. She needed absolute clarity for what came next. Across the room, Ethan finally noticed her. She watched his expression shift from surprise to confusion to calculation. He whispered something to Alyssa, then began making his way toward Maya. Too late. The lights dimmed slightly as Robert Harrington, the conference chairman, approached the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude our most successful conference to date, I'd like to invite a few distinguished guests to share closing thoughts." Maya moved toward the steps at the side of the stage, her heart steady, her mind clear. She packed 2 outfits for Dallas. One for the woman arriving on his arm, another for the woman walking away with his empire. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes knowing tomorrow you'll destroy them? Could you still touch them with tenderness knowing it's the last time? Maya felt strangely calm as she waited near the stage. Robert Harrington was introducing the first speaker, a venture capitalist whose words washed over the crowd in predictable waves of optimism and caution. Ethan had changed direction when he saw her heading toward the stage, confusion evident on his face. Now he hovered near the front tables, one eye on Maya, the other on Alyssa, who remained oblivious by the bar. Her phone vibrated with his message. "What are you doing?" She didn't respond, keeping her eyes forward, expression composed. The venture capitalist concluded to polite applause. Harrington returned to the microphone. "And now we have an unexpected but welcome addition to our program. Please welcome Maya Diallo, senior partner at Lawrence & Pierce, who has an announcement regarding new investment opportunities." This was her modification to the program, a small change requested just hours ago, approved because of her firm's reputation and Ethan's name. Maya ascended the steps with measured grace, accepting the microphone with a smile. The spotlight felt warm against her skin as she surveyed the room. Hundreds of the financial world's most influential players, phones already raised to record what they assumed would be a standard investment pitch. "Thank you, Robert," she began, voice clear and confident. "I do indeed have an announcement about investment opportunities, though perhaps not the kind you're expecting." Her eyes found Ethan in the crowd. His expression had shifted from confusion to alarm. "For 3 years, I've been engaged to Ethan Pierce." She gestured toward him, causing heads to turn. "Many of you know him as a brilliant investor, a trusted partner, a man of vision." Murmurs rippled through the audience. This was definitely not the standard investment talk they'd anticipated. "What you may not know is that 2 weeks ago, Ethan asked me for a special dispensation before our wedding." Maya paused, letting anticipation build. He wanted one night with his former girlfriend. For closure, he said. The room went silent. In her peripheral vision, Maya saw Alyssa straighten, champagne glass frozen halfway to her lips. "Being an understanding fiancé," I agreed. Maya smiled thinly. What kind of partner would stand in the way of emotional resolution? After all, she gestured to the screen behind her, where the first image appeared. Ethan entering his hotel room, timestamp clearly visible. But my agreement came with a condition he wasn't aware of: transparency. Another image appeared. Ethan and Alyssa in the hotel corridor, embracing. You see, while Ethan was seeking closure this weekend, I was conducting due diligence. She began walking slowly across the stage, commanding the space like a courtroom. As an attorney, evidence matters to me. Facts matter. Truth matters. Each statement punctuated by a new image on the screen. And the truth is that what Ethan described as closure was actually the continuation of a relationship that never ended. Maya clicked to the next slide. Screenshots of text messages between Ethan and Alyssa, dates clearly visible. The audience gasped at particularly explicit exchanges. Now, you might be wondering why I'm sharing this personal matter at a professional conference. Maya's voice remained steady. It's because investment is about trust, about transparency, about knowing exactly who you're getting into bed with. She looked directly at Ethan, whose face had drained of color. Ethan Pierce presented himself as an exclusive opportunity, a limited-time offer. Her smile was razor-sharp, but it seems his portfolio was more diversified than disclosed. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Maya clicked to a new slide. The prenuptial agreement, key sections highlighted. Fortunately, like any good investor, I protected myself against market volatility. She enlarged a specific clause. According to the terms Ethan signed, any intimate contact with former partners after our engagement constitutes breach of fiduciary trust, resulting in controlled transfer of designated assets. Whispers erupted as the implications became clear. Maya continued relentlessly. The designated asset in question is Horizon Tech Ventures, Ethan's newest and most promising investment fund. She paused, which, as of this morning, is under my management control. The room erupted. Phones flashed as attendees captured the moment. Caroline Wesley's photographer moved strategically for the perfect angle. In the chaos, Maya finally looked directly at Alyssa, whose perfect composure had cracked, showing shock and something else, grudging respect. I want to thank Ethan and Alyssa for teaching me an invaluable lesson about investment strategy. Maya's voice cut through the noise. Always read the fine print, and never, ever underestimate your partners. She could see security moving toward Ethan, who had started for the stage, his face contorted with rage. They intercepted him smoothly, guiding him toward a side exit. For those interested in the new direction of Horizon Tech Ventures, my team will be in touch next week. We're particularly focused on women-led startups and ethical investment models. With that, Maya handed the microphone back to a stunned Robert Harrington and descended the steps. The crowd parted before her, faces registering shock, admiration, discomfort. Zora met her at the edge of the room, squeezing her arm in silent support. "Car's waiting," she murmured. Maya nodded, maintaining her composure as they moved toward the exit. She could feel hundreds of eyes following her, could hear her name rippling through conversations. By morning, this would be in every financial publication, every social media feed. As they reached the doors, Maya heard Ethan's voice. He had broken away from security and was calling her name. She didn't turn back. She let him kiss her goodbye before the gala, knowing the lips that touched hers tonight would be speechless within hours. When was the last time you smiled at someone knowing it was the final time? Did they feel the goodbye you didn't speak? The black car waited at the curb, engine running. Maya slid into the back seat, Zora following close behind. The moment the door closed, isolating them from the chaos erupting inside the hotel, Maya's shoulders dropped slightly, the only visible sign of the enormous tension she'd been carrying. That was... Zora searched for words. The most controlled destruction I've ever witnessed. Maya stared straight ahead. "Drive around the block twice," she instructed the driver. "I need a minute before we return to the hotel." As the car pulled away, Maya's phone exploded with notifications. Messages from colleagues who'd been watching live streams. Emails from reporters requesting comments. Texts from Ethan, each more desperate than the last. "What have you done? This is insane. Call me now. You've destroyed everything." "For what?" She silenced the phone and dropped it into her clutch. "You okay?" Zora asked quietly. "I will be." Maya's voice was steady. It had to happen. The car rounded the corner, passing the hotel's main entrance where a small crowd had gathered. News traveled fast in financial circles. "What now?" Zora asked, Now I follow through. Maya straightened her posture. The hard part isn't exposing the truth, it's managing the aftermath. They returned to the hotel through a service entrance, avoiding the growing media presence in the lobby. In her room, Maya kicked off her heels and poured herself a small measure of bourbon. "You should see what's happening online," Zora said, scrolling through her phone. "You're trending. Power move and diallo domination are the top hashtags." Maya took a slow sip, feeling the liquor burn pleasantly. "What's the general sentiment?" "Mixed, but mostly supportive. Women are calling you a hero. Men are." Zora grimaced, divided. "And the financial press? That's the interesting part. They're focusing on your acquisition of Horizon more than the personal drama." Caroline's article just dropped. The headline is "Diallo secures control of billion-dollar fund in unprecedented prenup execution." Maya nodded, satisfaction warming her more than the bourbon. This was exactly what she'd wanted, to be seen as a strategic player, not a scorned woman. Her room phone rang, the front desk. She answered warily. "Ms. Diallo, there's a Mr. Pierce insisting on coming up. Hotel security is detaining him in the lobby. Do you wish to speak with him?" Maya considered her options. Confrontation was inevitable, but she preferred to control the circumstances. "Tell him I'll meet him in the private lounge on the mezzanine level in 20 minutes. After hanging up, she turned to Zora. "I need to do this alone. Are you sure that's safe?" Zora's concern was evident. "He looked murderous. He's many things, but not physically dangerous." Maya moved to the closet, selecting a cream-colored blazer to put over her dress, armor for the coming battle. "Besides, we'll be in a public space with security nearby." She refreshed her lipstick and studied her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked powerful, in control. Nothing like the confused, hurt fiancée she'd been just days ago. "Keep your phone on," Zora instructed as Maya prepared to leave. "Text me every 15 minutes or I'm coming down." The private lounge was empty when Maya arrived, soft lighting creating pools of gold against dark wood paneling. She chose a corner table with clear sight lines to all entrances and exits. Ethan arrived 7 minutes later, still in his gala attire, but distinctly disheveled. His bow tie hung loose around his neck, his expression a storm of emotions, rage, confusion, and beneath it all, fear. "Have you completely lost your mind?" he hissed, dropping into the chair across from her. Maya regarded him calmly. "I am perfectly sane, more so than I've been in years. You humiliated me in front of everyone who matters in this industry. You hijacked my company. For what? Because I slept with an ex? An ex you never stopped seeing," Maya corrected. "An ex you lied about. An ex you planned a future with while wearing my ring." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, visibly struggling for control. "It wasn't like that. Alyssa and I have history. Complicated history. What happened this weekend was about closure. Closure doesn't require 6 months of secret messages." Maya's voice remained steady. "Closure doesn't include plans for meetings after our wedding." He paled slightly. "You went through my private communications. I protected my interests." She leaned forward. "Just like you taught me." A waitress approached, hesitated at the obvious tension, then asked if they wanted drinks. "Scotch neat?" Ethan snapped. "Nothing for me," Maya said, never breaking eye contact with him. When they were alone again, Ethan's anger seemed to deflate, replaced by calculation. Maya recognized the shift. He was moving from emotional reaction to strategic thinking. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Money? Public apology? What will it take to undo this?" "It can't be undone." Maya's voice was almost gentle. "The papers transferring control were filed electronically during my presentation. Horizon is mine." "You can't run Horizon," he said, desperation edging his voice. "You don't have the connections, the experience. I have everything I need." Maya cut him off, "including the complete confidence of your former investors. Check your email. 3 have already reached out to express their support for new leadership." His drink arrived. He downed it in one swallow, then leaned forward, voice lowered. "You think you've won? This is just the beginning. I'll fight this in court. I'll expose every shortcut you've taken, every line you've crossed." "With what evidence?" Maya smiled slightly. Your legal team received comprehensive documentation of your breach this evening. Your own signature is on every damning page. She stood, gathering her clutch. I'll see you at the closing meeting tomorrow, Ethan. As Horizon's new managing partner, I'll be taking your seat at the table. As she walked away, she heard him call after her, voice breaking slightly. I loved you, Maya. Despite everything, I loved you. She paused but didn't turn around. No, Ethan, you loved what I represented. You never saw me at all. The microphone felt cool against her fingers as she approached the stage, not as his fiancée, but as his reckoning. Could you destroy someone while looking directly into their eyes? What does it cost to turn love into the perfect weapon? Sleep evaded Maya. She sat on the hotel balcony at 3 a.m., wrapped in a robe, watching Dallas twinkle below. Victory should have felt sweeter. Instead, she felt hollowed out, as if she'd left essential parts of herself on that stage. Her phone lit up with a text from Caroline Wesley. Digital traffic breaking records. Print edition bumped other cover stories. You're officially financial news royalty. Attached was a preview of tomorrow's headline. The prenup heard round the world. How Maya Diallo turned the tables on Wall Street. Maya set the phone down without responding. Public vindication had been part of her plan, but now that it had arrived, she found herself questioning its value. A knock at her door startled her. Too soft for Ethan, too late for hotel staff. Through the peephole, she saw Alyssa Thompson, perfect even at this hour, though her eyes carried the shadow of recent tears. Maya opened the door without speaking. May I come in? Alyssa asked, voice lacking its usual confidence. Maya stepped aside, curiosity overriding caution. Alyssa entered, taking in a room with a quick glance before facing Maya directly. Impressive performance tonight. It wasn't a performance, wasn't it? Alyssa moved to the window, keeping distance between them. The timing, the evidence, the audience, you orchestrated everything perfectly. Maya remained by the door. What do you want, Alyssa? To understand. She turned, arms crossed protectively. You could have left him quietly, taken half his money in a private settlement. Why this way? The question hung between them, demanding honesty. Maya wasn't sure she owed this woman. Because quiet exits allow men like Ethan to rewrite history, she said finally. To paint themselves as victims or heroes while erasing what they've done. Alyssa nodded slowly. You wanted witnesses. I wanted consequences. Maya moved to the minibar, pouring water for herself. Something he's rarely experienced. You don't have to tell me about Ethan's relationship with consequences. A bitter smile touched Alyssa's lips. I've known him since college. Maya gestured to the sitting area. Against her better judgment, she felt curiosity rising. You said you came to understand. What part confuses you? They sat, two women connected by the same man, studying each other across a coffee table. What confuses me, Alyssa said carefully, is why you didn't expose me too. You had the ammunition. Maya, consider this. You weren't engaged to me. You made no promises to me. Your betrayal wasn't mine to punish. Alyssa looked down at her hands, where an emerald ring glinted, one Maya had never seen before. He proposed to me last night, she said quietly, after he thought you were asleep in Chicago. The revelation should have hurt. Instead, Maya felt oddly detached, as if hearing about strangers. Congratulations, she said dryly. I said yes. Alyssa twisted the ring. God help me, even knowing what he is, I said yes. And now I don't know. Alyssa's composure cracked slightly. That's why I'm here. Not just to understand you, but to understand myself. Why do we keep choosing men who see us as interchangeable? The question struck Maya with unexpected force. She'd been so focused on Ethan's betrayal that she'd never fully examined her own choices. We don't see ourselves clearly, she said finally, so we trust others to define our worth. Alyssa nodded, unexpected tears welling. He told me you were temporary, that you were useful for his image, but not. She hesitated. Not what? Maya pressed. Not our kind of people. Alyssa met her eyes directly. His words, not mine. Maya absorbed this, feeling an old wound reopen. And what kind of people are you exactly? the kind who inherit pain and pass it on without questioning. Alyssa removed the emerald ring, placing it on the table between them. The kind who mistake possession for love. They sat in silence, the air heavy with shared recognition. What will you do with Horizon? Alyssa asked finally. Transform it. Maya's voice strengthened. Fund the company's traditional venture capital ignores. Women-led startups, minority founders, sustainable technologies. Ethan will fight you. Let him. Alyssa stood, gathering her composure. I should go. At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for this weekend, but for last year at the charity gala. What I said to you was unforgivable. Maya remembered the sting of those words, how they burrowed under her skin for months afterward. Why did you say it? She asked, needing to know. Because you had what I wanted. Alyssa's honesty was startling. Not Ethan, your confidence, your self-sufficiency. I thought if I could break that, I'd feel less broken myself. The admission hung between them, raw and unexpected. Goodbye, Maya. I don't imagine we'll meet again. Probably for the best, Maya agreed. After Alyssa left, Maya returned to the balcony, mind spinning with new information. The emerald ring, the second proposal, the web of lies Ethan had woven between them. Her phone rang, Zora checking in. Maya described Alyssa's visit, still processing its implications. So, he was planning to marry you both? Zora sounded incredulous. That's beyond cheating. That's pathological. He was hedging his bets, Maya said, understanding dawning. I brought professional connections, diversity for his image. She brought family money and social standing. We were assets, not people. And now I control his most valuable asset. Maya watched the sky lighten with approaching dawn. And tomorrow I start changing everything it stands for. She slept briefly before preparing for the final conference session. The closing investment meeting where major deals were traditionally announced. As Horizon's new controlling partner, her presence was required. Maya chose a white suit, symbolic armor for the battle ahead. She entered the meeting room at exactly 9 a.m., head high, stride confident. Conversation stopped as executives tracked her movement toward the empty chair at the head of the table. Ethan's former seat. A place card with his name still marked the position. She removed it deliberately, replacing it with her own business card. Good morning, gentlemen, she said, taking her seat. I believe we have business to discuss. Murmurs circulated as men exchanged glances, uncertain how to proceed. Maya opened her portfolio calmly, projecting an authority she was still growing into. Where is Ethan? One board member finally asked. Mr. Pierce is no longer managing partner of Horizon, Maya stated, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. As documented in the materials my team distributed this morning, control has transferred to me effective immediately. She gestured to the folders being placed before each man. You'll find all the legal verification you need, along with our new investment prospectus. Their expressions ranged from shock to calculation to grudging respect as they processed this new reality. This isn't heartbreak, she announced to the silent room. It's justice. And then she revealed the final document, the one even he hadn't seen coming. Is revenge sweeter when served cold or when delivered with the warmth of what could have been? What price would you pay to reclaim your dignity? The next 72 hours passed in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and damage control. Maya operated on caffeine and determination, sleeping in 3-hour stretches between crisis management sessions. By Wednesday morning, she'd secured the loyalty of Horizon's key investors, replaced 2 board members with her own selections, and established a temporary office in downtown Dallas. The financial press had moved from shock to analysis, with opinion pieces debating whether her takeover represented female empowerment or ruthless opportunism. Maya didn't care which narrative prevailed as long as one fact remained clear. She was in control. Your 10 o'clock is waiting, her newly hired assistant announced through the intercom. Maya straightened her jacket and checked her reflection in her phone screen. Despite the exhaustion shadowing her eyes, she looked composed, professional, undefeated. The man who entered wasn't who she expected. Instead of the potential client scheduled, Richard Pierce, Ethan's father, stood in her doorway, his imposing frame filling the space. "Mr. Pierce," Maya said, rising. "This is unexpected, is it?" His voice carried the same aristocratic confidence as his son's, but with an edge hardened by decades of business battles. "You destroy my son's reputation and steal his company, and you're surprised to see me?" Maya gestured to the chair across from her desk. "I didn't steal anything. The legal transfer was triggered by Ethan's actions, documented and witnessed." Richard remained standing. "Let's not pretend this is about legal technicalities. This is personal." "On the contrary," Maya countered, "it's entirely professional. Your son breached a contract. I exercised my rights under that contract. By humiliating him publicly, by broadcasting private matters to the entire financial community." Maya met his gaze steadily. If Ethan wanted privacy, he should have honored his commitments privately. Richard moved further into the office, studying the space as if assessing an acquisition target. "What do you want, Maya? Money? A larger settlement? Name your price." "I already have what I want." She gestured to the office around them. "Control of Horizon and the freedom to direct its investments toward projects I believe in. You don't have the experience to run a venture capital fund. I have a Harvard Law degree, 5 years at Lawrence and Pierce handling tech mergers, and the backing of Horizon's major investors." Maya smiled thinly. "What I don't have is your son's tendency to make decisions based on ego rather than evidence." Richard's expression hardened. "The Pierce family has connections you can't imagine. We can make things very difficult for you." "Are you threatening me, Mr. Pierce?" "I'm explaining reality." He placed his hands on her desk, leaning forward. "Elizabeth and I welcomed you into our family despite your background. We overlooked certain shortcomings because Ethan seemed happy. This is how you repay that generosity." Maya felt a familiar heat rise in her chest. The same burn she'd experienced during dinner with Elizabeth, during countless subtle dismissals from Ethan's social circle. "My background includes working 3 jobs to put myself through school while supporting my mother. My shortcomings include graduating top of my class and building a legal career without family connections." She stood, matching his posture. "Your son didn't choose me despite these things, Mr. Pierce. He chose me because my achievements made him look progressive while my gratitude made him feel powerful." Richard straightened, reassessing her with narrowed eyes. "You've made a powerful enemy, Maya. I've survived powerful enemies before." She moved toward the door. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run." After Richard left, Maya sank into her chair, hands trembling slightly with delayed adrenaline. She'd expected resistance, but the direct confrontation with Ethan's father signaled a new phase in the battle. Her phone lit up with a text from Zora, Pierce family making moves. "Their foundation just pulled funding from 3 charities you support. This is getting ugly." Maya closed her eyes briefly. Collateral damage, the part of her plan she'd failed to fully anticipate. How many innocent projects would suffer because of her actions? Her private line rang. Only 5 people had this number. The caller ID showed E. Pierce. She let it ring 3 times before answering. "Maya Diallo, we need to talk." Ethan's voice sounded rough, possibly from lack of sleep. "Not over the phone. I have nothing to say to you." "Then listen." His tone hardened. "My father's just the opening act. The family lawyers are preparing to challenge the prenup on grounds of coercion and misrepresentation. They're also investigating your practice for evidence of misconduct." Maya's grip tightened on the phone. "Empty threats. They're going after your mother's business loan next. The one my family's bank underwrote last year." The targeted precision of the threat sent ice through Maya's veins. Her mother's small bakery in Detroit, finally expanding after years of struggle, depended on that financing. "That's low, even for you." "This isn't me." Ethan's voice softened slightly. "I try to stop it, but my father, he protects family legacy above all else." "And I'm not family," Maya finished. "You could have been." The words hung between them, loaded with what might have been. "Meet me, 1 hour. The coffee shop on Commerce Street." After he hung up, Maya remained motionless, weighing options. Meeting Ethan risked appearing weak, as if she were open to negotiation. Not meeting him risked escalation against those she cared about. Her decision made, she texted Zora, "Meeting at Meridian Coffee in 1 hour. If you don't hear from me by 3 p.m., implement contingency plan." The response was immediate. "Be careful. Men are most dangerous when their pride is wounded." Maya gathered her things, instructing her assistant to reschedule her afternoon appointments. As she left the building, she noticed a black sedan idling across the street. Likely Ethan's security detail, or worse, a private investigator documenting her movements. She straightened her shoulders and walked directly toward the car, staring through the windshield until the driver uncomfortable shifted and pulled away from the curb. Her phone lit up with his name, 17 missed calls, and 1 text. "You've made your point. Name your price." Victory's shadow often feels colder than defeat. The coffee shop hummed with mid-afternoon energy, professionals tapping on laptops, students hunched over textbooks. Maya chose a table in the corner with clear sight lines to both exits, then waited, hands wrapped around a cup she didn't drink from. Ethan arrived precisely on time, the polished facade of successful investor firmly back in place. Only the tightness around his eyes revealed the strain of recent days. "Thank you for coming," he said, taking the seat across from her without ordering. "I wasn't sure you would." "Your threat against my mother's business was effective," Maya replied coolly. "Congratulations." He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "That wasn't my idea, but you delivered it anyway. To warn you." Ethan leaned forward, voice lowered. "My family is mobilizing resources I can't control. They see this as an attack on the Pierce name, not just on me." Maya studied him, searching for the man she'd once believed him to be. "What do you want, Ethan?" "A reasonable settlement." He pushed a folder across the table. "These terms would allow you to walk away with dignity and substantial compensation." Maya opened the folder, scanning the document inside. The offer was generous by conventional standards: $12 million cash, a luxury condo in Chicago, and ongoing consulting fees. In exchange, she would relinquish control of Horizon and sign a non-disclosure agreement. "You still don't understand what this is about," she said, closing the folder. "I didn't do this for money." "Then why?" Frustration edged his voice. "If this is about Alyssa, this is about patterns," Maya interrupted. "About you creating a relationship based on what I could do for you, not who I am. About your family treating me like an exotic accessory to your progressive image while undermining me at every turn. That's not fair. When your mother suggested I consider less demanding work after marriage, you said nothing. When your college friends made jokes about urban scholarships, you laughed along. When Alyssa insulted me at the charity gala, you pretended not to hear. Each example landed like a precise blow. Ethan's expression shifted from defensive to uncomfortable. "I made mistakes," he conceded, "but this response is disproportionate. You've destroyed my professional reputation. Your actions destroyed your reputation. I just made them public." A barista approached, asking if they wanted anything else. Both declined, the interruption creating a momentary pause in the tension. When they were alone again, Ethan's strategy shifted. "I've been talking to our investors. They're concerned about Horizon's future under inexperienced leadership. I've already confirmed they're staying with me," Maya countered, "including Westlake Partners, your largest backer." Surprise flickered across his face. "Catherine Westlake agreed to this," she said, and I quote, "It's about time someone showed the old boys network they don't own innovation." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "Turns out I'm not the only woman tired of being underestimated." Ethan's jaw tightened. He withdrew another document from his briefcase. "Then perhaps this will interest you more." Maya recognized the header immediately. Her mother's loan agreement with First Connecticut Bank, the Pierce family institution. The terms allow for immediate call-in if certain conditions aren't met. Ethan explained, his voice professionally detached, including a morality clause that would be triggered by association with public scandal. The naked thread hung between them. Maya felt cold fury rising, but kept her expression neutral. "You would punish my mother for something I did. I'm simply pointing out potential consequences." Ethan's gaze held hers. "This can still be resolved cleanly." Maya stood abruptly. "We're done here." Maya, be reasonable. Reasonable. Her voice remained low but carried intensity that made nearby patrons glance over. You cheated on me, lied to me, planned to marry another woman while wearing my ring, and now you're threatening my mother's livelihood. There's nothing reasonable about any of this. She gathered her purse, leaning close enough that only he could hear her final words. I have copies of every message you sent Alyssa, every plan you made, every lie you told. Push me further, and they go to every board you sit on, every client you court, every social club you value. The color drained from Ethan's face. You wouldn't. Test me and find out. Maya straightened. Now, here's my counteroffer. You call off your family. You leave my mother's business alone. You accept the loss of Horizon gracefully. In exchange, I keep the most damaging personal details private. And if I refuse, then I show the world exactly who you are. She turned to leave, then paused. You have until tomorrow morning to decide. Outside, Maya hailed a cab, hands trembling slightly as the adrenaline of confrontation ebbed. She directed the driver to her hotel rather than back to the office, needing space to think. In her room, she immediately called her mother. Everything okay, baby? Rosa Diallo's voice carried the familiar warmth that had sustained Maya through every challenge. Everything's fine, Mom. Maya kept her tone light. Just checking on the expansion. Any problems with the bank? Smooth as butter so far. Why do you ask? Just being cautious. Maya closed her eyes, relief washing through her. How would you feel about switching to Detroit Community Bank? They're offering competitive rates for small businesses. If you think it's smart, I trust you. Her mother's easy faith nearly broke Maya's composure. Now tell me what's really going on. I've seen the news. Maya took a deep breath and began explaining, not everything, but enough. As always, her mother listened without judgment, offering the steady support that had made Maya's achievements possible. After the call, Maya stared at the ceiling, weighing options and consequences. She'd gambled everything on this confrontation with Ethan and his world. The question now was whether she'd calculated the true cost of victory. She left his counteroffer unopened. Power wasn't what she wanted. It was merely the first step towards something he couldn't yet imagine. Would you rather be right or reconciled? What costs more, your pride or your peace? The documents arrived via courier at 7:15 the next morning, a plain manila envelope marked confidential in red block letters. Maya signed for it while still in her hotel bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. Inside, she found not the capitulation she expected from Ethan, but something far more disturbing. Internal memos from Horizon's previous investments, showing a pattern of predatory practices targeting struggling startups. Accompanying these was a handwritten note on Pierce family stationery. Maya, before taking your victory lap, understand what you've actually won. Some burdens come disguised as triumphs. She spread the papers across the hotel desk, legal training taking over as she assessed their implications. The documents showed Horizon systematically identifying promising startups with cash flow problems, offering rescue, funding with terms hidden in legal jargon, then triggering technical defaults to seize control of intellectual property at a fraction of its value. If authentic, these practices weren't just unethical, they bordered on fraud. Maya called Kevin immediately. I need you to verify some documents. Quietly. What am I looking for? He asked, voice still thick with sleep. Authenticity first, then any digital trail linking these tactics to specific individuals. While waiting for Kevin's analysis, Maya dressed carefully for the office, mind racing through scenarios. If these documents were legitimate, she now controlled a company with potentially criminal liability. If they were fabricated, Ethan was attempting an elaborate form of revenge. Either way, she needed to proceed with extreme caution. Her phone rang as she was applying lipstick. Zora, have you seen the news? Her friend asked without preamble. What news? Alyssa Thompson just gave an exclusive interview to Bloomberg. She's claiming Ethan manipulated both of you, that he made promises to each of you the other didn't know about. Maya set down her lipstick. She's throwing him under the bus? Completely. She provided emails showing he promised to make her Horizon's marketing director after your wedding. Said he assured her your marriage was strategic, not romantic. The revelation should have felt vindicating. Instead, Maya felt a creeping unease. This timing isn't coincidental. There's more, Zora continued. She mentioned a shadow portfolio of Horizon investments that don't appear in official records. Said Ethan bragged about acquisition tactics that skirted regulatory oversight. The description matched exactly what the mysterious documents outlined. Maya's stomach tightened. "Send me the interview link," she said, "and meet me at the office in an hour." The Horizon offices were unusually quiet when Maya arrived. Her assistant met her at the elevator, expression tense. "3 investors have called requesting emergency meetings," she reported, following Maya to her office. "And the SEC left a message asking you to contact them at your earliest convenience." The Securities and Exchange Commission. Maya took a steadying breath. "Thank you, Lisa. Hold all calls for the next hour except Kevin Shun or Zora Washington." Alone in her office, Maya spread the documents across her desk again, this time reading every word with forensic attention. The pattern was clear and damning. Horizon had systematically targeted vulnerable companies, particularly those founded by women and minorities who had limited access to traditional funding. Her phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. Documents authentic. Digital signatures match. Trail leads to executive level, but stops short of specific attribution. In other words, the practices were real, but the paperwork was carefully structured to shield decision-makers from direct responsibility. Zora arrived 20 minutes later, closing the office door firmly behind her. "This is bad," she said, reviewing the documents quickly. "If you're set up to take control just as these practices come to light, then I become the fall person," Maya finished. "The outsider who sees control and must have orchestrated everything." Exactly. Zora sat heavily in the visitor's chair. "The timing of Alyssa's interview makes me think she's part of this too." Maya paced the length of her office, mind working through implications. But why would she participate? She was with him until a few days ago. Maybe she wasn't. Zora's expression grew thoughtful. What if their relationship was just as calculated as everything else? What if this entire scenario, from his request for one night to your takeover to these revelations, was orchestrated? The possibility sent a chill through Maya. To what end? To distance Pierce family money from whatever's coming. To create plausible deniability for Ethan while leaving you holding the bag. Maya stopped pacing, a new understanding dawning. "They're making me the lightning rod." Her phone rang. Ethan. After a moment's hesitation, she answered on speaker. "I see you received my package," he said without greeting. "Are you recording this call?" Maya countered, a soft laugh. "Always the attorney." "No, this is just between us." "Nothing has ever been just between us," she replied. "What's your endgame here, Ethan? Setting me up to take the fall for Horizon's practices?" On the contrary, his voice softened. "I'm trying to protect you. By sending me evidence of potentially criminal business tactics, by showing you what you've actually taken control of." He paused. "My father built Horizon using methods from a different era. I inherited not just the company, but its culture. And you continue these practices," Maya stated flatly. "I try to change direction." For the first time, Ethan sounded genuinely regretful. "The new investment fund I was creating, the one you're now controlling, was meant to be different, transparent, ethical." Maya exchanged skeptical glances with Zora. "You expect me to believe you were planning some moral evolution? I don't expect you to believe anything anymore." Ethan sighed audibly. "But you should know the SEC has been investigating Horizon for months. That's why I was so eager to launch the new fund under separate governance." "And Alyssa? Was she part of your ethical awakening too?" His hesitation told her everything. "Alyssa's family has banking connections we needed. Our relationship was transactional," Maya supplied. "Like ours." "No." His denial came quickly. "What we had was real, Maya. Complicated by external pressures. Yes, but real." She almost laughed at the absurdity. You were planning to marry us both. I proposed to Alyssa because my father threatened to cut me off if I married you without securing additional capital connections. The admission tumbled out in a rush. I was trying to buy time to build enough independent success that we wouldn't need his approval or his money. The explanation was so tangled with self-interest and self-deception that Maya couldn't separate potential truth from certain manipulation. "Why tell me this now?" she asked finally. "Because the investigation is accelerating. Because my father is prepared to sacrifice you to protect the family name. Because despite everything, I don't want to see you destroyed by a system you just stepped into." After the call ended, Maya sat in silence, processing these new complications. The triumph of controlling Horizon now felt like quicksand beneath her feet, pulling her into deeper danger with every move. "Do you believe him?" Zora asked quietly. "I believe parts of it." Maya picked up the SEC contact information. "Enough to know I need to get ahead of this immediately." The evidence was undeniable. He had betrayed her, yes, but he had also protected her from something far worse. And now she held the power to destroy or save him. Sometimes winning the battle costs you the war. Rain lashed against the windows of Maya's temporary apartment. The Dallas skyline blurred behind sheets of water. 3 days had passed since the revelations about Horizon's practices. 3 days of emergency meetings with attorneys, investigators, and increasingly nervous investors. Maya had barely slept, existing on coffee and determination while navigating the minefield she'd inherited. Her laptop screen glowed with draft statements, legal analyses, and contingency plans. A knock at the door pulled her from a particularly dense SEC filing. She checked the security camera on her phone before opening it. Ethan stood in the hallway, soaked from the short walk from car to building. Without makeup and careful lighting, the strain of recent days showed clearly on his face. "May I come in?" he asked, water dripping from his coat. Maya hesitated, then stepped aside. Self-preservation urged caution, but pragmatism required communication. Ethan removed his wet coat, hanging it carefully on the entryway hook as if this were a normal visit. The domestic familiarity of the gesture struck Maya as absurdly out of place given everything between them. "I just left a 4-hour meeting with federal investigators," he said, running a hand through damp hair. "They're building a case against my father and the original Horizon board." Maya led him to the living room but remained standing. "And you're here because you need to decide which side of this you're on before they contact you." Ethan's directness was unexpected. "They will probably tomorrow. I'm on the side of whatever's legal and ethical," Maya replied automatically. Ethan's laugh held no humor. If only it were that simple. He sank onto her couch, uninvited. "The investigators have years of documentation. They've been building this case since before I became managing partner. And you knew nothing about these practices?" Maya's skepticism was evident. "I knew enough to be uncomfortable, not enough to understand the full scope." He met her eyes directly. "Not until I tried to change direction and hit resistance from my father and the old guard." Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating his face in harsh white light. In that moment, Maya saw something she hadn't expected: genuine fear. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" she questioned, perching on the arm of a chair across from him. "When they come to you, they'll offer immunity in exchange for testimony against the Pierce family. They'll position you as the reformer who discovered corruption after taking control." Maya processed this. "And you want me to refuse? To protect your family?" "God, no." Ethan leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I want you to tell the complete truth. That you had no knowledge of these practices before taking control. That you discovered them afterward and immediately began cooperating with authorities. That is the truth." "Yes, but the way you tell it matters." His intensity surprised her. "If you position yourself as the crusading outsider exposing Pierce family corruption, my father will retaliate with everything he has. He'll claim you orchestrated a hostile takeover, that you were involved from the beginning." Rain pounded against the windows, creating a strange intimacy in the apartment. Just the two of them isolated from the world by water and darkness. "Why do you care how this affects me?" Maya asked finally. After everything that's happened? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Because I loved you. Not the way you deserved, clearly, but in the only way I knew how. The past tense wasn't lost on Maya. Loved, not love. My father raised me to see relationships as strategic alliances, he continued. To evaluate people based on what they brought to the Pierce family. I never questioned it until I met you. Someone who achieved everything without family connections or inherited privilege. So, I was your rebellion against Daddy? Maya's tone sharpened. How flattering. You were the first person who made me question everything I'd been taught. Ethan stood, moving to the window. About success. About worth. About what makes a life valuable. Lightning flashed again, silhouetting him against the glass. For a moment, Maya saw glimpses of the man she'd fallen for. Thoughtful, vulnerable, capable of change. The investigators will offer you a deal, he said, turning back to her. Complete immunity in exchange for testimony about my father's direct involvement. Family communications, private conversations, anything that links him personally to these decisions. And you're here to persuade me not to take it. I'm here to ask you to make your decision based on facts, not revenge. His gaze held hers. My father deserves consequences for his actions. But this investigation could destroy people who had nothing to do with these practices, employees, partners, grantees of our foundation. Maya crossed her arms. That's convenient moral reasoning from someone who is comfortable deceiving multiple women simultaneously. The barb landed visibly. Ethan flinched but didn't look away. I've made inexcusable mistakes in my personal life, he acknowledged. I won't defend them, but this is bigger than what happened between us. Is it? Maya moved closer. Or is this another manipulation? Another attempt to protect Pierce family interests at my expense? Test it yourself. Ethan reached into his pocket and withdrew a flash drive. Every internal document I could gather about these practices. Email chains showing my attempts to change direction. My father's explicit instructions to continue despite legal concerns. He placed it on a coffee table between them. Everything the investigators have and more. Use it however you think is right. Maya stared at the small device, understanding its significance. Why would you give me this? Because you deserve to make an informed choice. His voice softened. And because despite everything, I trust your judgment more than my own. The admission hung in the rain-scented air between them. Maya felt something shift. Not forgiveness, exactly, but perhaps the first molecule of understanding. I should go, Ethan said after a moment. You have a lot to consider. At the door, he paused. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not just for the public humiliation or the professional complications, but for failing to be the man you thought I was. The man I wanted to be with you. The rawness in his voice stripped away layers of performance and calculation, revealing something Maya hadn't expected to find: genuine regret. Goodbye, Maya. After he left, she returned to the living room, staring at the flash drive as if it might detonate. Eventually, she plugged it into her laptop, opening file after file with growing comprehension. The evidence was comprehensive and damning. Emails from Richard Pierce explicitly directing questionable practices. Ethan's increasingly urgent warnings about legal exposure. The gradual development of a new fund structure designed to separate from tainted money. Around midnight, Zora called for their nightly strategy session. The investigators contacted me, Maya told her. Meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. What are you going to do? Zora asked. Maya looked out at the rain-slicked city, decision crystallizing. I'm going to protect what matters. The employees who knew nothing, the startups who need legitimate support, my own integrity. And the Pierces? They'll face whatever consequences their actions deserve. Maya's voice was steady. No more, no less. After hanging up, Maya drafted 2 emails. One to her legal team outlining her approach to the investigation. Another to Horizon's employees assuring them of her commitment to their jobs and the company's ethical reset. As she worked through the night, the rain gradually subsided, leaving a cleared sky by dawn. Maya watched the sunrise paint the city in fresh light, feeling the weight of her decision and the clarity it brought. She placed the flash drive in his hand, everything needed to ruin him completely. "Choose for us both," she whispered. "I've made enough choices already. The choice you make tonight rewrites 2 futures." 6 months later, Maya stood at the podium of Detroit's newest community business hub, cutting the ceremonial ribbon with her mother beside her. Camera flashes captured the moment. Not just local press this time, but national business publications documenting what many were calling a revolutionary approach to venture capital. "Today marks not just the opening of this space," Maya told the gathered crowd, "but a fundamental shift in how we think about investment, opportunity, and second chances." The Detroit Innovation Center occupied a formerly abandoned warehouse in the neighborhood where Maya grew up. Renovated with Horizon's resources, it now housed 20 startup companies, primarily led by women and minority entrepreneurs who had previously been denied traditional funding. "Every founder in this building has faced barriers," Maya continued. "Some financial, some systemic, some personal. What unites them is resilience, the determination to build something meaningful despite obstacles." From the front row, Zora gave her an encouraging nod. Beside her sat Catherine Westlake, Horizon's largest investor, who had become Maya's most vocal supporter during the transition. The past 6 months had unfolded with intensity and purpose. Maya's testimony to federal investigators had been meticulously factual, confirming Richard Pierce's direct involvement in predatory practices while documenting Ethan's attempts to change course. The resulting indictments sent shockwaves through financial circles, with Richard and 2 board members facing criminal charges. Ethan himself had negotiated a cooperation agreement, exchanging comprehensive testimony for immunity. He'd subsequently stepped away from all Pierce family businesses, establishing a small consulting practice focused on ethical investment strategies. They hadn't spoken since that rainy night in her apartment. Maya had followed his journey through news reports and occasional updates from mutual connections, maintaining professional distance while privately acknowledging the complexity of her feelings toward him. After the ribbon cutting, Maya circulated among guests, discussing the center's programs with community leaders and potential partners. The validation felt sweetly significant. Here in Detroit, where she'd begun with nothing but determination and her mother's unwavering support. Ms. Diallo, a staff member, approached discreetly. "There's someone asking to speak with you privately. He says it's important." Maya followed her to a small conference room off the main hall. When the door opened, Ethan stood by the window, looking out at the Detroit skyline. "Congratulations," he said, turning to face her. "This is remarkable." 6 months had changed him visibly. His designer suit was replaced by more casual attire. His former polished confidence softened into something more authentic. "Thank you." Maya kept her voice professionally neutral. "I didn't expect to see you here. I was invited by Catherine Westlake," he explained. "She's advising on a project I'm developing in Chicago, repurposing abandoned properties for community-owned businesses." The information surprised Maya. Catherine had mentioned nothing about working with Ethan. "That sounds worthwhile," she acknowledged. Silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken history. "How are you, Maya?" he asked finally, the formal facade dropping away. "Busy. Focused." She offered a small, genuine smile. "Good, actually. I'm glad." His relief seemed authentic. "You deserve everything you're building." Maya studied him, noting the absence of the entitled confidence that had once defined him. "And you? How are you navigating your new reality?" "One day at a time." Ethan's smile held rueful acknowledgement. "Turns out having your family legacy dismantled and your personal failings publicly dissected is quite the growth experience." Despite everything, Maya found herself appreciating his self-awareness. Growth through necessary pain. Exactly. He gestured toward the window, where the center's bustling main floor was visible. "What you've created here, it's everything Horizon should have been from the beginning." "That was always the plan," Maya acknowledged. "To transform something broken into something healing." Ethan nodded, understanding the layers in her statement. "I should let you get back to your guests." As he moved toward the door, Maya felt a question rise that had lingered for months. "Why did you do it, Ethan? give me that flash drive, knowing what it would cost your family." He paused, considering carefully, because some debts can't be repaid with money or power. Some require truth, whatever the consequences. And Alyssa, working for her family's foundation in California. His expression remained neutral. "We occasionally consult on the same projects, but that chapter is closed." Maya nodded, accepting the information without further comment. At the door, Ethan hesitated. "There's something else you should know. I've established a scholarship at Howard University for students from Detroit. It's anonymous, but I wanted you to know." The gesture touched something Maya had thought long buried. Not romantic feelings, but recognition of genuine effort to change. "Thank you for telling me," she said simply. After he left, Maya took a moment to center herself before returning to the event. Through the window, she watched Ethan exit the building, pausing briefly to look back at the center before disappearing into the Detroit afternoon. Later that evening, after the guests had departed, Maya and her mother walked through the quiet space, admiring what they'd built together. "You did good, baby," Rosa said, squeezing her daughter's hand. "Your father would have been so proud." "We did good," Maya corrected, returning the pressure. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." As they prepared to leave, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. "Your vision for Horizon was always clearer than mine. Thank you for making it reality." She didn't respond, but saved the number, not as a door reopening, but as acknowledgement that some endings contain seeds of new beginnings. Outside, Detroit's evening lights glowed against the darkening sky. Maya breathed deeply, feeling neither triumph nor regret, but something rarer and more valuable. Peace with her choices and clarity about her path forward. She didn't wear his ring anymore. She wore her own power. And that, surprisingly, was what finally made him truly love her. Some endings are actually beginnings in disguise. Subscribe. The next chapter starts now.